Hey folks, it's Rod with the Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ Stocks, crypto assets, news and interviews. Today is Tuesday, it's April 29th. Hope you're doing awesome. In this video, we're going to be discussing Mr. Alan Brochstein. He posted an article today on Seeking Alpha, and he discussed Tilray brands and the improved balance sheet and how they had net debt of about 14 million. We'll discuss all of that more. He's been a long-term skeptic of Tilray and says that it could bounce big soon in his view. And he has a much different way of kind of looking at a company than I do. I do a lot more fundamental analysis, and I tend to, look under the hood and try to understand the business before it gets to, the type of value investing and looking at the numbers, so to speak. They say that numbers don't lie, but if you look at, Warren Buffett and, some of the best investors in the world, they missed some of these high growth sectors and names like Apple and Amazon, Bitcoin, right? Because they just couldn't understand. They couldn't look at the numbers because the numbers didn't even exist yet. And the numbers that did exist didn't paint an accurate story. They just didn't understand the underlying technology, where the industry was versus where it's going. And that's what I specialize in, is focusing on a company's vision, where they're going, where they are and where they're going, and where the sector is going, not just a company. And then, like I said, boots on the ground. I know pretty much inside and outside of Tilray's business, right? And it's cool to see, everybody comes around eventually. But I did reach out to Alan as well to see if we can have him on the show for an interview. And Alan, if you're listening, if you can reach out, it's info@pursuitofwealthgroup.com. And you can also go to powgroup.ca or pursuitofwealthgroup.com and just fill out the contact us form. So we'll jump to all that and more. Before we do, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. You can follow us over on X as well, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. And full disclosure, I do own Tilray. It's my largest MJ portfolio holding by a country mile. This was the Seeking Alpha article here. Tilray brands could bounce big, and I'm not going to go through this entire article. It's very lengthy, so I'll put it in the description of this video and in the comment section as well. I'll just kind of go over the highlights here in the summary. So Tilray brands, I read the whole thing, so I would encourage you to do so. It was very well written by Alan, and like I said, he was a long-term skeptic, and I think he said his portfolio comprised of about 50% Canadian licensed producers now, and Tilray accounts for 20.1% of the model portfolio. So Tilray brands missed Q3 expectations, but improved its balance sheet with net debt of 14 million. And I was looking into it. I think they had close to 200 million in net debt about a year ago. So they've really been paying down that debt. And in my recent interview with Erwin Simon, he said that was a main focus. He's not opposed either to a stock buyback, but it sounds like they really want to eradicate that debt and avoid, high interest payments, etc. Makes a lot of sense to me. And then once the company really starts to turn profitable, then we're going to see what this well-oiled machine can do. And I think it's going to be an absolute beast when it's all said and done. But that 14 million net debt, there's a couple different ways you can calculate it, but the most popular way and how he would have done it, you can just go to Investopedia. The formula for net debt is total short-term liabilities and total long-term liabilities minus total current assets. So if we go over here, we were discussing this in the Pow Group private community as well. Shout out to who pointed this out. You know who you are. We'll look at the total current assets here, and like I said, we were discussing this in the group. And you look at 686 was total current assets, and then total liabilities 701. So that's in hundreds of thousands. So that's in millions. So 701 million. And 43,686,289,000. So what you do is you add those two up, you add total liabilities, right? Short-term and long-term. The total liabilities factors that in. So you take the total liabilities minus total current assets, and that gives you 14.754 million. So essentially, you could round it up to even 15 million, but that checks out. So just under 15 million for total net debt. That is pretty astonishing when you think about it, considering they had almost 200 million in net debt, I think about a little over a year ago. They've been really knocking that down, and they've been focusing on SKU rationalization. Pretty much every Canadian LP has been doing that, but they're starting to ramp up production with regards to international, and Germany is going to be a big market. They talked about the UK and Portugal. There's going to be a lot. Australia is another one that's really growing by leaps and bounds, and Canada is even under kind of a shortage right now in terms of supply. And then, what about hemp drinks in the US, and then medical, and there's so much potential here. It's not even funny. Like we're truly in the pregame warm-up, folks. We're not even in the first inning. And this reminds me so much of when I was talking about Tesla, right? And, people would write all these articles about how garbage it was. And, they make less cars in a year than Toyota makes in a month. It's like the numbers just aren't adding up. And it's like, yeah, but do you understand where the world is going? They're the leader in the space, and the world's not going to go backwards. It's going to go forward. And you have to understand where we were and where we were going to go. And if you look at Tilray, if you understand that Tilray is Tilray, Afria, Hexo, Redecan, Zenabis, all under one roof? If you would have told anyone 4 years ago that there would be one company operating and it would be a merger between Tilray, Afria, Hexo, and Redecan, people would have just laughed at you. They said, there's no way that would happen. Like, in my opinion, I think the Redecan brand alone is worth over $1 billion. It's fantastic. They have the best flower on the market, in my opinion, best bang for your buck. And it's fantastic flower. Like, the quality is amazing for the price. Are there other companies out there in Canada that have better product, better flower? Probably. Are there companies in the US that has better flower? Probably, but I would argue not by much. And for the price point, not even close, right? And then they're number one in beverage. They're like, just imagine it once you're able to like go down south, like let's picture you're in Mexico and you're on the beach, and you'll be one day, I envision you'll be able to go and you'll be able to buy like a pack of Redecan Reddies, like that alone in terms of like tourism to these high destination areas would be massive. And then every, sporting event, concert, restaurants, bars, they're all going to have MJ beverages. And like Irwin Simon said, if they could legalize, if they could sell drinks like MJ drinks in the US, that would be a $1 billion business, and they could be in that market within 60 to 90 days. Same thing with medical. If medical went live in the US, that was legal, they could be in that market in 60 to 90 days, right? That's because they have they've already built out the infrastructure. They've already built out the CapEx, right? The capital expenditures that it would take. They already have the facilities. They already have the experience and the the trials and tribulations that they had to go through to cultivate at scale. There's a lot of great producers in Canada. I can name quite a few, but they don't have the scale, right? They barely even got Canada under wraps, right? They're still expanding within Canada, whereas Tilray is in 20 plus countries, right? It's not even, it's like comparing like a Tesla to, like a, what would you call it? What was that? Nikola, the company that just, went through financial turmoil, right? So, you got to be very, very careful. And the same thing happened in electric vehicles, the .com days. Just because you were first didn't mean you were last. And there was probably 6 to 12 different companies that ended up running the space. And I think Tilray is going to be in the top 5 for sure. I would say top 3, very, very doable, and maybe even the number 1 company when it's all said and done. So despite revenue and EBITDA misses, Tilray's valuation is attractive, trading at 6.85x projected fiscal year 2027 adjusted EBITDA, suggesting potential gains up to 77%. And then he mentioned that they don't give EBITDA guidance, but they do give revenue guidance. We'll see if that changes in the future. But risks include NASDAQ delisting. We know that they're looking to do a reverse stock split. So he mentioned that later on in the article as well. I remain optimistic due to Tilray's technical indicators and valuation, despite concerns about its MJ operations and other business units. He does say that he's not a big fan of their MJ business, but these people, most of these people don't understand how good their products are, right? Like I've tried every single Tilray product that there is to try, and pretty much 80 to 90% of my capital goes towards Tilray's products, and their beverages are second to none, right? I've tried beverages in the US and they were just disgusting, right? If they got a single drop of one of these Tilray drinks, they'd be hooked for life. But looking into a portfolio, they talk about, like I said, 20.1% of his model portfolio is in Tilray. He talked about how he just added to it as well. But yeah, check out that article for its full entirety. I'm not going to go through it in effort of time. He compares some of the other LPs as well. I think he's pretty bullish on Organogram, which I am as well. But like I said, hopefully he'll be up for coming on the channel at some point for a quick interview. But we also had some other news today. The MJ Council of Canada congratulates Mark Carney and calls for immediate action to strengthen Canada's legal MJ industry. If you haven't seen this, I posted a video on this earlier. So they talk about excise taxes, creating one national stamp instead of 13 different stamps across the country. Talk about the illicit market still comprising of about 25 to 40% of total sales in Canada, which is unacceptable. There's like 94% of illegal MJ products contain pesticides. So again, check out that video for more information. We should see the Canadian budget as well come out at some point soon. I think it's been delayed due to the fact that we had the elections. So we should see an update on that, I would think, in the next few months, if it's not the actual budget, but we might get an update on when to expect it. And then there was this news here. White House drug czar could endorse MJ legalization under a new bill to repeal ludicrous restriction. So this is, we saw a pretty decent pop today on MSOS and some of our names as well across the space. But yeah, it's going to be a while yet. I don't think there's going to be any immediate, near-term catalyst per se. I think, banking in the US makes a whole lot of sense. I think we should see that over the course of the next year or two max. And I do think that, it's going to be the way that they roll it out before a major reform, right? I think descheduling is ultimately where we'll end up. But what they'll want to do is they'll want to create banking first. And then that way, all the Wall Street banks can get positioned, the hedge funds, the institutions, right? The JP Morgans, the Morgan Stanleys, the Goldman Sachs, nothing in the world happens without them. And then once they get positioned and we get uplisted into the NYSE and the NASDAQ for these US names, then they'll have free reign and the floodgates will open up, the shackles will be removed, and it'll be go time. So looking forward to it. Like I said, I've never been more, confident in Tilray. If you haven't seen my video, why do I own Tilray brands? You should check that out. And, from everything to Founders Fund to, all the research, all the 20 plus countries, there's so many reasons to own the stock long term. But again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do. I put my money where my mouth is, and it's my largest MJ holding, like I said, by a country mile. And it's likely going to remain that way for a very, very long time. All right, going into there, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section below, and make sure to check out the description and the comment section for the full article. All right, it's Rod with Powell Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, and we'll see you again on the next one.